last person I ever expected to call my best friend was the girl who made my childhood miserable. When I was 10 years old, there was one person who could ruin my entire day just by walking into the classroom. Her name was Sophie. She made fun of my clothes, spread rumors about me, turned my friends against me. Every morning, I hoped she wouldn't show up. Eventually, my family moved away and I never saw her again. Or at least, I thought I didn't. 15 years later, I met the kindest woman I'd ever known. We became inseparable. It took me almost a year to realize. My new best friend was my childhood bully, and somehow she knew exactly who I was from the very beginning. I thought meeting her again was just an unbelievable coincidence. I had no idea it was only the beginning. If stories like this stay with you, hit that subscribe button. My name is Claire. I'm 25 now. Sophie and I had been friends for almost a year when I figured it out. A year of coffee dates and late night calls and the kind of friendship I hadn't allowed myself to have since I was 9 years old. And the whole time she knew exactly who I was. I just didn't know she knew. I work from home, graphic design. My apartment is small but quiet, and I like it that way. I don't go to many social events, haven't since school. Something about walking into a room full of people I don't know still makes my chest tighten in a way I've never fully explained to anyone. My therapist says it's residual anxiety from early social trauma. I know exactly what that means. I just don't talk about it much. I met Sophie at a coffee shop 11 months ago. She sat at the wrong table, mine, by accident, realized it, and instead of moving, apologized and asked if she could stay. We talked for 2 hours. She was warm, funny, the kind of person who made you feel like the most interesting person in the room without trying. I liked her immediately, which was unusual for me. I should have paid attention to that feeling. When I was 10, I was quiet, not shy exactly, just careful. I observed more than I participated, stayed at the edges of things, never pushed for attention. Sophie was the opposite. Even at 10, she was magnetic, loud in the best way. Everyone orbited her. I don't know what I did to end up in her crosshairs. Maybe nothing. Maybe that's the point. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. You just have to be there. She started with small things, comments about my clothes, whispering to people when I walked past, the kind of thing you can't prove but everyone can see. Then she organized a birthday party, handed out invitations in class. Everyone got one. I showed up to the restaurant on a Friday evening in my best dress. Nobody came. I sat alone for 40 minutes before I understood what had happened. After that, she gave me a nickname: wallpaper, quiet, background, present but invisible, there but not worth noticing. It spread through the entire grade. Kids I'd never spoken to used it in the hallway. Teachers heard it and said nothing. My family moved when I was 11, new city, new school. I never fully let anyone close again after that. It happened on a Wednesday evening. Sophie and I were at her apartment, a bottle of wine between us, talking about a mutual friend who'd been upset about something small at a dinner we'd both attended. Sophie shook her head, smiling, and said, "She just stood there the whole night like wallpaper." I stopped breathing. Not dramatically, just quietly. The way you stop when something cold moves through you, and you need a second to understand what it is. Sophie kept talking, didn't notice. I picked up my wine glass, took a sip, nodded. But something inside me had already shifted. Wallpaper. Nobody used that word that way. Nobody said it with that specific lightness, like it meant nothing. Like invisible people were just part of the scenery. Nobody except one person. I went home that night and sat in my kitchen for 2 hours. Then I pulled up an old Facebook account I hadn't logged into since high school. Found a photo from 5th grade, a class picture. Sophie was in the front row, smiling. I didn't say anything for 3 weeks. I watched instead. The way she remembered every small thing I'd ever told her. The way she showed up when I canceled plans, not to guilt me, just to check in. The way she never made me feel like a burden for needing space. I watched for the version of her I remembered. The girl who organized empty birthday parties. The girl who handed out a nickname like a weapon. I couldn't find her. What I found instead was someone who seemed genuinely, quietly devoted to being my friend. And that confused me more than anything else. because it meant she hadn't sought me out to hurt me. She'd sought me out to make it right and hadn't told me. I asked her to coffee, the same place we'd met 11 months earlier. I put my phone on the table between us, the class photo pulled up, both of us, 10 years old. Do you recognize this? I asked. Sophie looked at the photo. She didn't say anything for a long moment. Then she looked up at me and I watched her make a decision. Yes, she said quietly. I know exactly who you are. I've known since the day we met. Then why didn't you say anything? She folded her hands on the table. Her eyes were steady, but something behind them was breaking. Because I didn't know how to. Because I was ashamed. Because I've thought about what I did to you for 15 years and I didn't know how to walk up to someone and say, I was the worst part of your childhood, and I'm sorry, and I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know. She stopped, looked at her hands. I thought if I could just be your friend first, if I could show you who I am now, maybe then I'd have earned the right to say it. I sat across from her and felt something I hadn't expected. I believed her. She told me everything. Therapy at 19 when she finally understood the damage she'd caused as a kid. Years of thinking about specific people she'd hurt. Me specifically. The birthday party. The nickname. She'd found me on social media 2 years ago, followed me quietly, then one day, saw I lived in the same city. The coffee shop wasn't an accident. She'd seen me there before, chosen her moment. That's why I sat at your table, she said. I knew it was yours. I looked at her across the table for a long time. You should have just told me, I said. I know, she said. I was scared you'd leave before I could show you I'd changed. I might have. I know that too. The apology was real. I could feel it. 15 years of guilt sitting across from me in a coffee shop asking to be put down. I believed every word. But believing someone is sorry and being able to go back to what you had aren't the same thing. I stopped responding to her texts about 2 weeks after that conversation, not out of anger, out of exhaustion, out of the quiet realization that some things leave marks that a sorry can't reach, not because the sorry isn't real, but because the mark got there first. I think about Sophie sometimes. Wonder if she found peace in saying it. I hope she did. But I also think about a 10-year-old girl sitting alone in a restaurant in her best dress, waiting for people who were never going to show up. That girl deserved better then. And I've spent 15 years learning to give her better now. Some friendships end not because of hate, but because of history. And history doesn't disappear just because someone finally decided to apologize for it. I'm not wallpaper anymore. But I remember what it felt like to be called that. And I'm the only one who gets to decide what I do with that memory. If this one stayed with you, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, would you have stayed friends with Sophie? I'll see you in the next one.